Hello, my name is Katie Geddes and I am an Outschool organization owner and teacher coach. Today on my channel, I'm going to be interviewing one of my past clients, Elizabeth Pope, who is also an Outschool organization owner. Make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Let's get right to it. Yay! Welcome to today's video. We are talking with one of my wonderful past clients, Elizabeth, who has her own organization on Outschool. So to get started, Elizabeth, would you mind just introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Elizabeth. My organization is Sparkology Education. A little bit about me, I'm kind of an accidental farm girl from Oklahoma. I married a farmer and we have 3 wonderful children. We live on a farm and it's lots of fun.
Lots of animals, right?
Yeah. So lots of science lessons there, which is what I teach on. Outschool is middle school science with a little bit of fun mystery classes thrown in there just for, a little bit of excitement.
Yeah,
so
just for funsies.
So yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Very cool. So when you first got started teaching on Outschool, what got you to the platform? Why did you start teaching online?
Yeah. So when we originally moved out to the farm, as we call it, my son was little and we decided that I would stay home with him. But I'm not the type of person who just I loved staying home with my son, but I needed something professionally to do. Yeah. So I started with working with VIP Kid. For that season of life, it was fantastic. I was able to get up and get work done before, my kid got up. And when he went to kindergarten, a lot of VIP Kid teachers were making some noise about this Outschool thing. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to jump in. I'm just going to do it. Well, that was January 2020. And that was the perfect time to enter and get all my stuff together. And so things really took off before really even the pandemic, but then pandemic hit and things just kind of skyrocketed. I started teaching core curriculum science in August of that year. And that has really been my bread and butter since. And it's what I love teaching. I was in the brick and mortar classroom before we moved out to the farm. So I had experience teaching middle school science and I love it. I have so much fun with my students.
Aw, you do a lot of semester length classes, right?
Yep. Most of my science classes are 8-week courses. We meet once a week. I give them lots of homework. And so it's a very robust program as far as just outside of classwork. It's not just that hour-long course, but.
So you started, like you said, as an independent teacher on Outschool. So when was it that you really decided or started thinking about the idea of becoming an organization instead and expanding that?
So I started teaching those courses, those semester courses in August of 2020. We went through the whole school year. We as a family take June to do custom cutting. We cut wheat. And so it requires all of our time and all of our energy. And I'm not able to teach during that time. And so as you can imagine, here's my income in May and here's my income in June. And I was like, okay, there's got to be some sort of a solution here. And also there is such an opportunity for kids in the summer to be learning this material. I could reach so many kids, but I wasn't personally able to teach those classes. So when I got back from Harvest 2021, then I was like, okay, I've got to come up with a solution here. And that's kind of when I started chatting with you a little bit. It's towards the end of the summer. And then decided I needed to probably make that transition to becoming an organization.
Yeah, I remember when we started talking, you being on the fence, you were nervous, which kind of leads us into the next question I was actually going to get into, which was what kind of fears or did you have any sort of mindset blocks as you were thinking about making that transition that kept you from it for a while or that were just making you nervous when you were approaching that transition?
Yeah, you're totally right. I was so nervous. I even went into the meeting with you there's no way this girl is going to talk me into being an organization, but I know I really was. It's there's no way she's going to talk. I had decided. I was why did I even schedule that meeting? Anyway, so
that's
you and
so
I
funny to hear because to look at you now, it's just funny. It's funny to think that was what you thought back then.
God just knew what he was doing, putting us together, I think.
Yeah.
You just
definitely.
calmed my fears a little bit. So I really feel like my biggest drawback was, and I don't know if I've even talked with you about this, Katie, but I think my pride in my teaching was kind of the biggest thing for me. I thought that I was the only teacher who could teach these classes with as much energy and enthusiasm and build those personal relationships with my kids. I thought I was the only teacher who had that ability. Looking back now, like how prideful was that of me to think that? But I'm so glad that I kind of had a change of heart and had a change of mindset, because there are so many other great teachers out there. And meeting you made me realize, like, okay, I'm not the only high energy, enthusiastic, fun teacher out there.
I feel like a crazy person when I'm teaching sometimes.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like, what are these parents thinking of me as an adult?
Love it. No, I can totally relate to that. I felt that way too. Like when I was first getting started, luckily, the first person I hired on was like a personal connection who had very similar experience. We went to the same school. We had the same like mentoring teacher and whatnot. So I knew what her teaching style was like, but it is really scary to be like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be the one that's teaching these kids. I'm not going to be the one communicating with them, or, doing the post each week, like making sure they're okay during class, so, but that's the truth. There are so many teachers out there who are incredibly talented teachers, who would love to be a part of an organization on Outschool or to teach on Outschool. So have you found that too? Like once you started hiring on teachers, have you found that you've gotten more comfortable with it and the idea of it and stuff?
Absolutely. And I think that just the mindset that there is a teacher out there for every student, and not everybody may do it exactly how I would do it, but there's a student out there for that teacher. And I found my kids that love the way I teach and love my sarcasm and goofy humor. And that's kind of what, I love doing in class. And there's a kid out there who may not enjoy my teaching style, and they may enjoy some of my other teachers. The content is still there. The content is still solid and great, but they may have a different approach. And I had to realize, like, that is okay too.
Yeah.
Not everybody has to teach just like me.
Yes,
just to
definitely.
be a good teacher.
Exactly. Some teachers, you may be the best teacher for one kid, but someone else is the best teacher for a different kid.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely. So we know that you were struggling with that when you first were going through that process. So what did help you most kind of get over that and get through that? And if you knew someone else who was going through the process who was struggling with that, what would you kind of say to them to help them get through that?
So I think ultimately what helped me was to voice those fears like out loud. And I may not have said that exact thing that I was prideful. I think I told you, like, I don't want to give up control. Like, I'm in control right now. But just talking through that with another person who knows the business and the Outschool platform was incredibly helpful. And if I were to tell somebody to, like, what to do in that situation, is that they shouldn't be afraid to reach out to somebody or to invest in help, because that can be invaluable and grow your business. My business has grown so much. We've been able to reach so many kids since that point. Where I was just afraid to take that leap. So,
Yeah, I feel like it comes to a point where it's like you're either going to decide to just let it be the same, or you're going to get over that and you're going to get through that. And then it might be a hard transitional time and you have to like take some time to figure it out. But that's the only way that you're going to be able to really grow past, where you've been in the future. But nice. Well, thanks for sharing that. So once you made that decision and you were, getting started with the process of becoming an organization, what challenges would you say were hardest for you to get over as you were going through that transition?
What I guess intimidated me the most starting out was the legal side of things. I was really scared that like a teacher was going to steal all my content and run off with it and do something else magical with it or something. And so just the legal side of things was a little bit intimidating at first. Totally doable once I got into it, and once I kind of had like a checklist of things to do. It was totally doable, but that is what was intimidating to me for sure.
Nice. And so how did you go about solving that? Did you talk to anyone? Was there something that helped you, figure out what to do in that situation to avoid, someone stealing your content or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had recommended a legal website that I could get on and kind of print out some contracts. And I did that. I still was a little bit intimidated about it. And so I actually chatted with a family member who is a lawyer and just gave her the stuff and was like, hey, will you take a look at this and just tell me, like, is this what I'm supposed to do? And she was really able to help me. And so just having that legal counsel was really helpful and gave me so much peace of mind moving forward because I knew that I had covered my bases.
Nice. Definitely. And so did you end up doing, so the website she's talking about is Rocket Law or Rocket Lawyer. Did you do like a non-disclosure agreement?
Yes, I did. For my first hire, I did a non-compete and then a non-disclosure agreement, which said that, like, essentially you can't take my material and go post it anywhere else or talk about it to anybody else.
Awesome. So once you got started with the process and you were getting ready to hire teachers, where did you ultimately find your teachers that you hired on?
So the first place I went was the Facebook group that connects organizations with teachers looking to work for an organization, and that worked out great. I found both of the teachers that I currently have teaching for me on that website or on that Facebook group, and they've both been fantastic. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. Great. Pretty easy for you.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, wonderful. So another aspect of the application process and something that Outschool looks for, as you know, is the website. So did you make your website yourself? Did you bring someone else on to do your website? How'd you approach that?
I thought I could make it myself. I realized that I maybe needed a little bit of help because that's not an area where I really excel. Yeah. So I did bring on someone. I found them on Fiverr or Upwork or something like that. I can't remember where, but they worked with me to get that started, and they kind of helped me get into creating a freebie or a, something that I could offer to clients just to give them a preview of kind of what I do. So that kind of helps people to find me and kind of get a feel for my teaching style.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. So do you do that like an email marketing opt-in? Yeah. Yes, I think that's great. That's what I did with my own website as well. I find that it's a great way too, because it's also great for the external marketing piece that Outschool looks for, which, I've talked about before in videos, but Outschool actually wants to see how you're going to bring families to the platform, bring in new students to classes. And so that's one way to do so, just to show them that you're doing some sort of email marketing with a freebie. So nice. Well, that's super helpful that he was able to do that for you. I've seen your website. It's great. And also, one thing I definitely wanted to talk to you about is your virtual assistant, because Elizabeth and I actually went through the same program to find a virtual assistant, and she's been working with one just as long, if not longer, than I have. So I just wanted to ask about your experience. I know a lot of teachers out there are interested in the idea of hiring a virtual assistant. So with yours, could you just tell us a little bit about maybe some of the tasks that he does for you? It's just his kind of weekly ways that he helps you in your Outschool business.
Sure. So I would highly recommend it. If you're on the fence, do it. It was a game changer for me. I wasn't at first sure that I would have enough for them to do. My assistant works 40 hours a week, and I don't know how I was doing everything before I hired him. So a lot of what he does is content development with me. So we work together to develop lessons and to manage the homework, because a lot of my courses include homework. And so he really helps me develop all that and just keep track of all that. So that's his main objective, is to keep me on track with my content development and just do there is so much behind the scenes work that comes with being an organization or even being a teacher, and just having somebody to hand a little bit of that stuff off at a time to has been so great. So
yeah,
it's worked out really well.
Agree. I feel that way too. I'm like, what did I do before I got my VA? Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely. And so if you were to, like, if somebody was coming to you advice about hiring a virtual assistant of their own, what kind of advice would you give them about approaching this? Like, I know that a lot of people have the same feelings towards hiring a virtual assistant that they do in like becoming an organization, like giving up control in their business, all those kind of things. So do you have any advice for someone that might be getting ready to hire on a virtual assistant, of just like how to decide what to hand off to them, how to go about it, anything like that?
Sure. So, I mean, I think if you're still developing content, obviously that's a great place to start because it's something that you can still have control over before you put out there. But other than that, I mean, just think about those tasks that you don't enjoy doing and try to figure out a way to make it possible to train somebody else to do that. Because
Agreed.
when you give some of that stuff up, it allows your brain to work more on what you want to do in your business and doing and just expanding. So as far as like what to hand off to someone, that's going to be unique for every single person. But I would say don't don't hesitate because you don't think you're going to have enough to give someone. If you are thinking about getting a VA, you have enough to give to someone.
Agreed.
Because if
Oh
that's
my gosh.
crossing your mind, trust me, once you make that leap, you're going to be like, how did I live without this person?
Yes,
It's
I
awesome.
agree. I know mine also is 40 hours a week, and I'm already like, okay, by the summer, I want to bring on someone else, like
Yep.
there's always
Yep.
just new ideas for things that you can hand off. And I know it's at first it can be really scary. I know for me it was really scary, but once you
Yes.
decide, you're like, okay, I cannot do all of this anymore. Like I don't want to focus on these things. Like I'm tired of these tasks. As soon as you make that decision, I feel like I was just like, take it all. Like do all the
Yep.
things for me.
Yep.
um
And I think something that's been helpful, and I know you use Trello too.
mhm.
Trello has helped us just organize and systematize and all of that. It's a great tool. And now I'm not a representative for Trello, but
Right.
that has been really helpful for me to visually see and organize the things that we work together on.
I
So
totally agree. Yeah, we also use Trello, and we don't even really have like meetings at all ever. We have one like maybe once a month we have
yeah,
meetings, but we
me
just
too.
communicate everything through Trello.
Yeah.
It's so
We
helpful.
don't even email back and forth. We just Trello. Like that's it.
Yeah. Awesome. That's wonderful. So, just a couple kind of closing questions. How, if you were to think about like your life now compared to before you decided to take the leap of faith, become an organization, like what differences do you see in your life now?
Well, I just feel like I am very passionate about online learning in general. As a teacher, I think the online platform is fantastic. As a student, I think it opens the door for so many kids that don't fit the traditional mold to come and take classes online, and to be able to reach more students by offering more classes is so impactful and so like makes me feel like I'm
Mhm.
fulfilling my life's work, right?
Yeah.
So just being able to offer those classes and have more kids be able to take advantage of great curriculum and an online learning environment, I think is just, it makes me so happy.
Oh, my heart. I love even like listening to you say that. I was like, oh, I totally agree because that's actually a really good point. I feel like when I was making the transition and I was like handing off some of my classes, even my parents were like, "Why aren't you doing as much teaching?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like I still teach and I love the teaching, but it also gives me so much happiness to like see my
Yes.
teacher working with that student and like being able to
Right.
expand. And I totally relate to
Yes.
that. Oh,
Online teaching totally changed my perspective of teaching in general. I loved my kids in the brick and mortar setting, but online teaching is my jam. It's where I thrive. And I think there are a lot of teachers like that. There are a lot of things in the regular classroom that you don't have to deal with in the
yeah.
online classroom. And so just giving other teachers also the opportunity to have that environment where they really thrive is so fulfilling for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Very cool. And finally, if you were talking to someone who was considering like dabbling with the idea of becoming an organization, what would you say to them? Like any last advice, any last words? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Like talk to somebody outside of your spouse or your mom or your sister that doesn't necessarily teach on Outschool. Talk to somebody who knows about Outschool and can talk through your fears with you. And don't be afraid to invest in yourself. And when I was trying to make that decision, I decided that I was going to invest in some help and invest in some, professional development. And I have seen my business just take off since then. So don't be afraid to invest in yourself. I wish I could have told myself that a year ago.
I know.
2 years ago, I guess.
Yeah. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to see how your business grows, Elizabeth. It's just so fun connecting with you. I know that like we've worked together in the past, but Elizabeth has become just such a good friend to me. It's just wonderful to, in this online space, be able to connect with people who get you and get your business, where like we just have such a niched industry. Like I would never meet someone out in the real world like who understands anything about my job. So it's just really nice to have. But thank you so much for doing this interview with us today. It's going to help so many different teachers who are considering becoming organizations on Outschool. I will put all of Elizabeth's links below if you want to check her out on social media or you want to check out her organization. And yeah, just thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's great to chat. It's so fun to catch up.
Awesome.